Thank you for all being here. I think it's a very special occasion for these awards because we've reached the 9th year, and for the first time I have the feeling that we've reached critical mass in terms of participation for the island. So it's a very special occasion for me, and thank you for being here. What you may or may not know is that when you're 28 years old, like I was, and you're trying to start an airline, there is only one way to succeed, and that's to have a rich father. When EasyJet came of age and was growing at a pace that was too much for me and my family resources to cope with, I decided to float the company on the London Stock Exchange to become a publicly listed company. But I made a particular, if you like, alteration in that public flotation, and I kept the ownership of the brand, the trademark, in my own company, in my own personal ownership, if you like, which means that I can charge a royalty. The collective name, if you like, for all these Easy brands is the Easy family of brands. I'm now 50 years old. When I was pushing 40 years old, I started thinking that I owe a debt to society. I've been lucky, a couple of times at least. You have to repay your debt. I think all wealthy people have an obligation, a debt to repay. So I decided to create a foundation. I decided to diversify into different causes, but in the countries I have lived and worked. So Cyprus, of course, is right at the heart of the mission statement. So we'll always be here to help Cyprus. Greece, where I was born. The UK, where I worked and where the money is coming from. And Monaco, where I live now. The other question is what happens after you are no longer in this world. I don't know how many of you have heard of the Giving Pledge. They said that, we're wealthy enough, we need to give half of our fortune to a good cause. Every signatory, if you like, to the Giving Pledge can choose and does choose where the money will go. I signed this pledge in May. Half the estate, if you like, would be the endowment of the foundation. And what I find very powerful about this is that way the foundation can live forever. If you have an income stream, you channel some of it to a good cause, you can keep doing it. This is not a one-off fireworks display. We're here to help. It's a cause, and it's a good cause, and as long as there is a need for it, we'll try and help. The other project, which it actually started in Cyprus, but it became a lot more necessary in Athens, is what we call the Food from the Heart. The idea is that you're helping a lot of people in a small way every day. After having 4 points of distribution in the Greek Cypriot community, I wanted to start one in the Turkish Cypriot community. So a couple of years ago, I went over to the other side. I met an estate agent, and I said, I want to buy a building. Now, the first thing they told me is, you're a foreigner, you'll never be allowed to buy a house here. You have to get permission and everything else. And I don't mean to be negative on a day of celebration, but I think it is worth reminding ourselves that there are problems still. We're trying to do it as cleanly as possible, so we leased the building. We signed a rental agreement with an option to buy. And we applied, and there was silence, and about a year and a half later, they came back and said no, without giving a reason. These things are a useful reminder why we should try harder rather than a reason not to be here. 2009 was the first year. This is the photograph from the first year. We were lucky to find 10 people to turn up. And since then, cumulatively, I have invested 2,750,000 euros. This is the photograph from last year. So this year, 750,000 will be granted to the winners. We were not sure whether we should say it's a celebration of lasting peace on the island or a celebration for lasting peace on the island. And I decided, because I couldn't choose, to actually mention both. There are several thousand people who believe and actively participate in bi-communal life. You may remember we started with business only, because I'm an entrepreneur. I wanted to interact with business people. Now we welcome all walks of life, all types of cooperation, the most popular being art. It wouldn't be complete if I didn't make a mention of Grand Montana. I wasn't there personally, but we were asked and we supported financially the movement Unite Cyprus Now to actually participate. I think it was important to have a representative of this movement, this community that believes that this is important to find a solution. Of course, the talks ended in our collective failure. It is something that we should be aware of, but I don't think it's a good reason to stop. If anything, we should try harder now. Our first special guest is Sir Trevor MacDonald. Trevor, thank you for being with us. We met for the first time 8 years ago when he was filming for ITV this series called The Secret Mediterranean that covered several countries in the Mediterranean. And when it came to Cyprus, we came down to Cyprus together to do a little bit of a tour. And the Bi-Communal Awards were starting at the time. So this is a very interesting, if you like, memento from the first and the second year of the awards. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Sir Trevor to make a few remarks. Sir Trevor, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, representatives of the diplomatic corps, representatives of the United Nations, special guests. I'm here today not only because of the fact that we made this film together, but because I was asked by Sir Stelios. But I was here 6 years ago, and we were doing this program, and it was a very good chance to see the reality of what life on this island is like. And like most journalists, our interest centered very heavily on the divided nature, and what I would call, I hope with some apologies, the toxicity of the division of an island. Fortunately, we encountered Stelios and what he's doing, and that gave an entirely different feel to what we came here to do. Because here was someone who was doing something of a bi-communal nature, which would really help the island. I've always felt that. And I felt it because in my travels around the world, I've watched carefully how people approach any hope of a solution to these bi-communal problems. And I was convinced that what Stelios was doing was an excellent way to try and do that. I started my career doing work in Northern Ireland, and there were obvious divisions between the communities there. When John Major and Tony Blair tried to bring the two communities together, one of the things he emphasized was enterprise. And if you can create the sort of conditions where people see that their lives are improved, if you can do something which gives a boost to the economy, then people are happier to live in the community, they're happier to look forward to a better life in the community, and they're happy to cooperate, they're happy to work much more together. So there's a great importance to the business side of this. It has a great resonance in the way people feel about themselves if you approach a problem in that way. But I think the other point about it is it also is an investment and an inspiration for people. I spent some time in South Africa during the apartheid years, and I saw the beginnings of how this system was going to crack. It began with individuals who got others to join them. And it came about because of programs like the foundation that Stelios has founded. People make it possible. And so I think by giving these awards to people from both sides, you really are inspiring a whole new group of people to see the benefits of working together, to see the benefits of cooperation. And I'm delighted to be able to see that the awards, which I saw then in their infancy, if I may describe it as such, have now blossomed into something so absolutely wonderful.
Sir Trevor, thank you very much for your kind words. I was very nervous when we reached out to Izet and Stathis, but luckily they're still friends, they're still cooperating in business, and they're both in this room. Izet and Stathis, would you like to come up?
It's great to see you guys still here. How is your friendship? Has it blossomed into something even more than it was when I saw you about 8 years ago?
I mean, of course, if you are with a Greek Cypriot as a Turkish Cypriot for 9 years and you're still friends, I guess it just moves on.
Our relationship, our friendship is stronger even now.
And I remember when we first met, that was not the case. I mean, you were, I think, particularly strong in representing that, you didn't have very much communication across the border.
That's right. I mean, we used to communicate over the email a lot, maybe some phone calls, but over the some years, we actually meet much more often. And it's not just us now. Like yesterday night, Statis drive from Poli to Nicosia because it was 2.5 hour journey. And later on, we had dinner, and my Turkish Cypriot friends joined. So our communication and interaction gets more and more.
You had was it a car business you had? You had a car business?
Yes, yes.
Is that still running?
Yes, it's still running and it's doing really well. We're happy.
You make the point that I try to emphasize there, that it's the kind of cooperation at this level at which any kind of process begins. It all begins with people, and it's nice to see you both here together again. It's nice to know that you have dinner occasionally, and it's nice to know that your business prospects seem to continue. So thank you so much on behalf of the foundation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next moderator is Nick Danziger. Nick is, with his permission, I'm going to call him the Indiana Jones of photography. He's been all over the world photographing the most bizarre things. Nick did a lot of work in Cyprus. He was hired by the Commission of Missing Persons. Nick, would you like to join us on the panel and say a few words?
Thank you very much, Stelios. Very much like Sir Trevor, what I would like to say is welcome, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. I find this very, very moving. I turned around to look at many of you when you watched the film made by Sir Trevor years ago, and a few tears were in your eyes. As a foreigner here, it's both sad and encouraging to see what happens here, because over the year that I worked with the CMP, the Commission for Missing Persons, what warmed my heart was to see people from both communities working together with no divisions whatsoever. Subsequently, we will see a film that I had the honor, I would say, of making of past winners and potentially new awardees for their application this year for Stelios. There are not dozens of you here, but hundreds. And I would call you couples. I asked, in fact, Stelios, what you're called, teams. But in a way, you're couples. Couples divided by this bizarre buffer zone that runs right across the island. And I think what's really important for us to retain, and very important actually when we see, and many of us I think were upset about the outcome of Crans-Montana, these awards, like the country itself, haven't just affected those that have won the awards. Because those that have won the awards are usually families. But tens of thousands across the island are being brought together, not just by the awards, but the belief that you are all Cypriots. And I very much hope that the groundswell grows and grows so that those people who can bring these problems to an end understand that the great majority of you are patriots for this island. Thank you very much for having invited me.
Our next panelist is Helena Smith. She was raised in Cyprus, and she made a name for herself by being the correspondent for The Guardian in Cyprus and Greece. She's covered the story for a long time, including the collective failure in Crans-Montana, as an incredible perspective on the story.
Hi, I'll keep it short and sweet. I find this incredibly moving. Basically, Stelios has, in this very goodwill way, enabled the breakdown, the destruction of stereotypes in a very abnormal situation. Cyprus is far too small to remain divided, and all of the applicants, the winners, those who want to participate in really what is a glorious event and a very natural event, are breaking down stereotypes and are very bold to do it, very courageous. I was raised here shortly after the invasion. I live in Athens. My heart's in Athens, my soul's in Cyprus. But I saw very clearly up front, very close, the pain that was suffered by so many people on both sides of this very unnatural divide. So there's a whole mindset that has grown with the dynamics of the division, which must be broken down, and Stelios, in this very generous way, is helping to do that. Thank you.
I would like to invite two more panelists, because when I was putting the program together, we wanted to have at least one representative of each of the communities from the journalistic sort of side to inject more of a local element to the discussion. So I'd like to invite Nicholas to come on stage and say a few words and then take his seat on the panel, and then Isu. Nicola, would you like to join us? Something else I realized about this divide, for example, is that the communities don't even watch each other's television. So Nicholas will be very famous to the Greek Cypriots, and Isu will be very famous to the Turkish Cypriots, but they don't know the other side's sort of TV reporter. Anyway, Nicola, would you like to say a few words from here?
As you know, Stelios Bi-Communal awards are now an institution in themselves, proving clearly that Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots may live, work together, and create a better society. As these awards prove, that people of this island can live together and that this island must be reunified. This country is big enough for all of us. We can live in peace. What is needed is goodwill, fertile ground, and visionaries. Visionaries that support the people of this country to overcome challenges and heal the pain. People like Stelios. Thank you very much.
Nice to hear so many nice words about yourself, you know. Helps the ego. Isu, would you like to say a few words, please?
Thank you. I'm working as a journalist since 1999 and covering the Cyprus negotiation process from 2000. And I am very happy and feel a great honor today to be a part of such a precious organization. Today, I am much more hopeful for the future to see all of you here, because if we are still trying to create something for our common future, this means that there is still hope. And I believe that the people living in Cyprus can do this. Especially after the Crans-Montana, I believe that supporting the bi-communal relationships, bi-communal cooperation is much more important than yesterday. And I believe that Stelios can do some much more important thing for tomorrow. And I am much more hopeful and happy than yesterday. I think the people in Cyprus can do this, and I just want to watch and see this one. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Winners are, actually, in my old age, I'm getting soft. I decided to give 152 prizes, so one more or two more people. The lists are here. It was the only efficient way of announcing the name. I don't want you to put them up on screen and make people read them, but there are papers that will be handed out, the press release with the winners. I will just read the categories because I think it's fascinating. We try to reflect the proportions of the application. So 19 of the winning teams are from the arts category. Bravo to the artists. 14 are from business, our original idea. 12 are from NGOs, not for profit. 11 from, and this is a self-categorization, so 11 people put the category other. So a lot of other sins in there, but the other category. The fascinating number that has been going up, we had the first partners in life, the first married couple about 3 years ago, and now we have 9 that are up there. Congratulations. 8 scientists from the category of science, and 3 from sports. So congratulations to everybody. Lunch is outside at the foyer for everybody, and there is a dinner tonight. Remember, dinner, buffet dinner tonight at the Lefkosia Merit Hotel in North Nicosia. So all the winners and their partners, the spouses, are welcome. So if it's 150 of you, let's say about 300 people will come to the Lefkosia Merit Hotel at 7 o'clock this evening. Find a friend. Thank you very much. Thank you. We have to break. Thank you.